Come on in, you guys. We got a brand new episode of Jimmy Rants in store for you here today. JimmyRants.com is the website. And as always, if you want to engage live, we're right here live on Instagram, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Sometimes we throw in a 5 p.m. Eastern. Sometimes we have on the weekend, but we're almost always here, 11 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. So go follow me over on Instagram. I am at Livin' Low Carb Man, LIVINLOWCARBMAN. Once you are there, engage live in the content, and we have a lot of fun on this show. We also simulcast over here on our Facebook page, so thank you guys for being here, as well as on YouTube Live. And if you're new to the YouTube Live, I've been doing these right about a weekish now. I believe it was last Friday that I started this show, doing it live on YouTube Live. So welcome to all of the Jimmy Rants family. Thanks for being here today. If you missed the live, you can watch it on replay for up to 24 hours over on Instagram. After 24 hours, it does disappear. You'll need to pop on over to JimmyRants.com. That's where we house all the past episodes. We also throw them up over on YouTube in archived form. Type in a keyword Jimmy Rants. You will find the show. Okay, guys, I have a really good Jimmy Rants in store for you here today because whether we like it or not, as much as our lives have been disrupted over the past few months, life is still going on. And there are still things happening in the world of health that you need to know about. And one of my duties as a purveyor of information is to sift through what's going on out there for you so you stay informed. And today's thing that I'm going to share with you is something you need to be abundantly aware of. Because a lot of us, when we've heard about the dietary guidelines for Americans, and especially before we got enlightened about nutritional health, when you heard about the dietary guidelines for Americans, you think, oh my gosh, well, they've assembled the best of the best with all the knowledge all about nutrition and diet and health-related items and how it all ties to your health. And, you know, we had no reason to not believe that. We had every reason in the world to believe that the Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee is full of people that are on the up and up, that are the top in the field. In fact, some of the subcommittees on the Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee are like, you know, specifically one on protein, specifically one on carbohydrate, specifically one on dietary fats, and then just on and on. You have the best of the best experts on all of these things. So we believed for a long time that these are fully vetted out. This is based on all the latest science. And of course, once you become enlightened, once you start learning that things aren't always on the up and up, it really makes your eyebrows raise. And I've done several Jimmy Rants recently about where they were supposed to be paying attention to a lot of the low carb research, and they've just flat out denied to look at it. They don't want to see it. They don't want to know anything about it. And it makes you wonder, why don't they want to look at the low carb research? Is there some outside influence taking place that would prevent them from wanting to at least have all of the information? And as a matter of fact, there is. I have a story here, and it's out of the BMJ, which is the British Medical Journal. Food and soft drink industry has too much influence over U.S. dietary guidelines, according to a new report. Now, we kind of knew the food companies were involved as far as like influential members of like trying to put out campaigns about health. We know the Dietetics Association is very closely tied to a lot of the junk food companies out there. A lot of the funding, and a lot of people don't realize this, your favorite dietitian, so registered dietitians have this association. It's the Dietetics Association. Their major funder are junk food companies. Now, where is the irony in that? It's like the three little piggies getting an investment in their work from the big bad wolf. So what if the big bad wolf comes home and says, you know, I kind of want some bacon tonight, piggies. What do you say? Sacrifice a little bit for the wolf so I can have my bacon? And yet that's what's happening with these companies, these food and soft drink companies. They're getting in deep into public health policy, and now it's impacting the dietary guidelines. You're going to be shocked when you hear about this, guys. And this is published in the British Medical Journal. Just like a week ago, it came out in the British Medical Journal. A powerful industry-funded group is playing an outsized role, according to this column, in steering the development of the brand new 2020 U.S. Dietary Guidelines, and must have its influence curbed in order to protect public health. A pressure group has urged. So there's a new group that has developed, and I'll tell you about here in a second. They're shining a bright light on this. See, I don't think most Americans realize how much of the dietary guidelines are being guided by the very companies that make products that make us fat and sick. Like I said, the big bad wolf is watching over the three little pigs, giving them funding and giving them support and until they want bacon. Till the big bad wolf wants bacon. And when the big bad wolf wants bacon, he's going to come on to get bacon, and he's going to get it one way or another. How many dietitians are handing out dietary advice that runs counter to the advice that they were trained on? Think about a recent Jimmy Rants I shared, where dietitians talk about during this COVID-19, oh, go ahead and eat carbs for comfort. Remember that one? Remember how crazy it sounded that a dietitian would be promoting the very antithesis of what a healthy diet looks like? Now you're seeing the connecting of the dots. And the connecting of the dots is they're funded by junk food companies. So they can promote to you to eat all your healthy whole grains and to keep your fat low and all the stuff that dietitians tell you. Not all dietitians. There's some good ones on Facebook and Instagram, and I've seen them out there. But a lot of them are being taught this very archaic diet message of low-fat, high-healthy whole grains. But they're also getting paid by junk food companies. Makes sense now, right? Why they would recommend eating comfort food, junk food? Because they get them coming and going. In a report published this week to coincide with Coca-Cola's annual meeting of shareholders, the campaign group Corporate Accountability noted that over half of the people who are appointed, listen to this, over half of the people who are appointed to the U.S. 2020 Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee had ties to the International Life Sciences Institute, whose primary funders include Coca-Cola and other global corporations. Is that shocking to you that over half of the people who are setting the diet example for all Americans to be following for the next 5 years have ties with an organization whose primary funder is Coca-Cola? If we don't wake up, guys, and realize what's happening behind the scenes of so many things that aren't what they seem, we're going to get blindsided again and again and again. So for anyone that throws in your face, well, the dietary guidelines say, especially your doctor, like when these dietary guidelines come out later this year, they're still going to be low fat. They're still going to push healthy whole grains. It's going to be obscene like it has been for the last 40 years. When your doctor brings up the dietary guidelines, you say, oh, you mean the ones that were heavily influenced by Coca-Cola? And your doctor's not going to know what you're talking about. Same with the dietitians. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't get my dietary advice from processed food companies. I would rather learn on my own, and I've learned that a ketogenic diet is far healthier than the Coca-Cola sponsored dietary guidelines. We need to start labeling this as such, because the more we put up with junk food companies putting their grubby hands in public health, we're never going to go forward with a public message from on high that says low-carb diets, keto diets are healthy. They know if they put that message out there that their major funders will pull faster than you can say achoo. And Coca-Cola knows this. Coca-Cola, forgive the pun, forgive the expression, but Coca-Cola has these people by their balls, and they're not letting go. They are. And that's where we are. ILSI was set up by Coca-Cola executives 40 years ago. What happened 40 years ago? 1980. Did anything like magical happen in that year? Oh yeah, by the way, that's the year the Dietary Guidelines for Americans began. So they set up this International Life Sciences Institute. It sounds so nonchalant, so beautiful. International Life Sciences Institute. And it was a front for pushing junk food on people in the name of public health. It operates throughout the world today, and it is a not-for-profit organization. So we have other groups that are not-for-profit organizations that also, under the guise of public health, there's this organization called Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, PCRM. You ever heard of them before? So they were set up as a means for a bunch of physicians getting together and saying, oh, well, we need to be responsible in our medicine and we need to provide good evidence-based blah, 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 blah. You know what it was? It was a vegan front group led by plant-based advocates. So all these plant-based doctors got together. Oh, we need to create an organization. Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. It sounds so good. But PCRM is about as whacked a front group for PETA, basically, as anything out there. And now this ILSI, International Life Sciences Institute, it is a front group for Coca-Cola to infuse and put their grubby hands where it don't need to be. And that's in the discussion of health, public health. I mean, what is wrong with this picture that we're looking at Coca-Cola in the discussion at all about public health? Coca-Cola is the problem, part of the problem with public health, not a part of the solution. And don't throw diet soda at me. Don't throw flavored waters at me. Yes, I know there's no sugar in those. And yes, they create those. But come on. They helped to create this obesity and chronic disease epidemic we're dealing with. I used to drink, and I've told this again and again, and people don't believe me always, but I used to drink upwards of 16 cans of Coca-Cola every single day back in my crappy garbage days. They had me hook, line, and sinker. And I was drinking and guzzling that stuff. It was naturally fat-free. Never bothered me that I drank Coca-Cola. In fact, when I was on a low-fat diet in 1999, I did an ultra low-fat diet, probably 10 grams or less a day of fat. And I remember going to the store and looking for all these like naturally fat-free foods, and I would buy things like marshmallows, very low in fat, Twizzlers, naturally low-fat food. In fact, they would put a little label right there on it. And I remember picking up a Coca-Cola one day and I saw no fat. Well, I can drink this on a no-fat diet. I can have this. And so I would eat Twizzlers. I would eat marshmallows. I would drink regular Coca-Cola on my no-fat diet, thinking I was eating healthy when I was doing nothing but eating very unhealthy. But this is how they get you. This is why they want to keep the low-fat message out there, because the moment they admit low carb is part of the answer to your weight and your health problems is the moment that products like Coca-Cola go bye-bye. Because if you tell them sugary swill is part of the reason they're becoming obese and unhealthy, they're going to give it up. Now, people on their own are learning this message. They found keto. They read my book, Keto Clarity, or other people's books, and they're learning all that sugar is no bueno for them. And so there is this kind of public rise of this information, even if it's not coming from on high. But Coca-Cola knows this, which is why they have infiltrated through the International Life Sciences Institute all these people that are now on the Dietary Guidelines Committee for the 2020 Dietary Guidelines. Over half of them have ties to this group. So it's a not-for-profit organization, and it says that it does not lobby. It may not directly lobby, but I guarantee you there is a lot of lobbying going on with this organization on behalf of Coca-Cola. Corporate Accountability says in its report, however, that it found evidence of ILSI's research, governance, and activities being, quote, fraught with conflicts of interest and non-disclosure of industry ties, end quote. Do you know if these people that were on this Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee, over half of them, if they had to admit that they're a part of this ILSI, which has a major funder being Coca-Cola, do you know the outcry there would be from people that are paying attention? And if I wasn't sharing this information with you here today, would you even know that there was such ties, that Coca-Cola was digging deep into the Dietary Guidelines formation for 2020? Is that shocking to you? And if you're just joining us, yes, this is real. Coca-Cola is having a direct impact on the development of the 2020 Dietary Guidelines for Americans. Over half of the people on the advisory committee for creating these dietary guidelines have ties to this ILSI, International Life Sciences Institute, whose major funder is Coca-Cola. And they don't have to disclose that, you guys. And that its partnerships with governments were obscuring the public health impact of soda and junk food. This is the saddest part. The dietary guidelines have always been set up as this is the final say when it comes to health and nutrition. Every single thing that comes out of that dietary guidelines has to be 100% accurate, unassailable, no doubt about it. And you want to know what? Most of it is not. And I guess we should be used to this by now, that we've been lied to. I mean, think about all of us that found the low-carb keto message. We found it because something didn't seem right. We did the low-fat diet obediently. We'd lose some weight, we'd be hungry, we'd gain it back. We'd lose some weight, be hungry, and gain it back. We found keto doing almost the exact opposite of everything they've told us to do. And then we lose weight. And then our health gets better. And we go, WTF. Right? Did I just tell your story? I know I've told my story. In fact, in 2010, I went before that Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee in Washington, D.C. I was one of 2 lay people in the whole audience. There was something like 48 of us that testified, and we all got 3 minutes each to testify before this DGAC. And I remember the very first lady that got up, she just was going through town. She was on vacation in the Washington, D.C. area, and said, hey, I'd like to testify. And she was the very first person. And she was like, we need to be eating real food. I don't understand why you can't put the emphasis on real food, real food, real food, real food, real food. And this was 2010 that she was doing this. I'm like, you go, lady. I was something like 27th in line. And the guy right after me, sitting right next to me, was Neil Barnard. Neil Barnard is a vegan. And I remember he kind of looked over at me and said, hi, I'm Neil Barnard. I said, I know who you are. And he's like, oh, who are you? And I'm Jimmy Moore, and blah, blah. And he's like, oh, I know who you are. I was like, oh, I bet you do. But when it was my turn to get up there, I just spoke from the heart. Most of these people were reading. And so this is why you need to have the healthy whole grains as part of the dietary guideline. And it's very important through lots of clinical. They were just reading. And I said, screw that. I'm not reading anything. I'm speaking right from my heart. And I remember looking at that committee right in the eyeballs. You know what? You guys have failed the American people. And you have told us what you think is the healthy way to eat. And I did it obediently for many years, and it failed me time and time and time again. I'm here to tell you that when I started doing the exact opposite of everything you've been teaching for a very long time is when I finally got my health back. And I said a lot of other things, but that was the gist of what I was sharing. I remember Dr. Jeff Volek was in the audience. He's one of the ketogenic researchers. He said afterwards, he came up to me and he said, you know, when you started speaking, it was far different than the others. When the others were like reading from their thing, he said they were like doodling and looking down, weren't even looking at the people. He said, when you started talking, they were all staring at you and could not stop looking at you. Now, it didn't make a difference in the 2010 dietary guidelines or the 2015 ones, and it probably won't make a difference in 2020. But they know the message. They can't say they have not heard from people telling them that the failure of the dietary guidelines is why we still have an obesity and chronic health problem in America. They cannot say that. They know. But here's the thing. They don't care because they have ties to Coca-Cola that keep them making the same old failed advice again and again. Has it ever perplexed you as to why they keep preaching from the same songbook that ain't working? This explains it, doesn't it? All right, so let's look at some of these key findings. Last year, there was an investigation by the British Medical Journal that revealed how Coca-Cola had shaped obesity science and public health policy in China in line with its own interests. Through its funding of the ILSI China Group, it served as a bridge builder between government, academia, and the industry. Listen to these findings from that report. The chair and vice chair of the Pregnancy and Lactation Subcommittee and the Birth to 24 months Subcommittee are ILSI affiliated scientists that have direct ties to food and beverages companies. The ILSI's Nutrition Reviews Journal does not always disclose their affiliations with ILSI and thus having a conflict of interest. That is a biggie. Anybody with scientific moxie, you have to disclose any kind of conflict of interest. And if you're getting money from Coca-Cola, you bet your sweet bippy, you better darn well be putting that down somewhere and letting people know that you have ties to them. That your opinions and your conclusions and your analysis has to go through the prism of, oh yeah, somebody lining my pockets with money is the very antithesis of the things that are healthy, and yet, oh, well, you know, we can have soda as long as you have it in moderation. That's where that nonsense comes from, by the way. If you ever hear somebody say, we could eat anything we want, just in moderation and part of a balanced diet, that is code for, I get paid by junk food companies to tell you to have their products, so please eat them still. Just be sensible about it. Yeah. It's not as sensible as you think. Prior research found that nearly 40% of ILSI's North America's 2013 to 2017 publications had no singular disclosure statement whatsoever, despite getting funding from ILSI and Coca-Cola. Corporate Accountability said that it found further evidence that even of the publications in the 60% with a disclosure statement, no conflicts of interest was sometimes declared despite getting money and support from ILSI and Coca-Cola. You know what we call that here in the South? You a liar! And we gonna call you out for being a liar. ILSI North America's current Board of Trustees violates Principle 1 of its conflict of interest. Over 50% of board members hold an affiliation with the private sector, and most of them junk food companies. Is this shocking, you guys? Like, I hope this is opening your eyes, that when you see things from on high, and you think, oh, okay, well, there's scientists involved, and they're the best in the field. Nope. Not even close. ILSI offered direct guidance to the Argentine government to update its national food composition database. So again, Coca-Cola has their grubby hands in there. ILSI India produced a study in partnership with government research institutions that systematically disparaged and misrepresented the health effects of traditional foods, in other words, real food, healthy fats, meat, blah, 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 instead of focusing primarily on its benefactors' products, such as soda and processed foods, and their detrimental impact on public health. We often wonder, why in the world do they not talk more about processed foods and its negative impact on our health? They choose to talk about things like calories. They talk about the detrimental heart health effects and obesity effects of saturated fat and cholesterol. All of that, you guys, is a ruse for, they don't want to talk about the junk food that they know is at the root cause of all of those things. Why? Because they are being paid by these companies that make the crappy garbage. When you put all the pieces together, is this not shocking? Now, it shouldn't be shocking because people are heavily influenced by money and heavily influenced by power. And don't doubt these people on the Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee for the 2020 Dietary Guidelines, they are drunk on power. They know that what they say in that document, that is basically the nutritional law of the land for the next 5 years, has their fingerprints all over it, and they'll just walk around proud. Look at what we did. They will. And they do it all the time. And we, like sheep, just sit there, oh, okay, I guess I'll cut my fat. Okay, I'll find my whole grain bread. Are you fed up with it? That's why you embrace the keto message now. It's why you embrace real food, because these people who are supposed to be the purveyors of all knowledge when it comes to your health have let us down, and let us down badly. Corporate accountability urged industry and academic institutions to stop funding the Institute. Again, International Life Sciences Institute. Stop funding it. Mars and Nestle did back out. So kudos to Mars and Nestle. I would never buy any of their products, but kudos to them for saying, you know what? Okay, we are having too much influence on government and nutritional health policy. Okay, we'll back out our funding. Coca-Cola is still there, and they don't care. Companies and academics should also issue a public statement condemning ILSI's interference in public health policy, along with the promotion of junk science. Governments and their agencies should publicly disclose any interactions with ILSI, prohibiting them and other industry groups from nominating participants in official food and nutrition policy processes. That would be a great idea. If you are a part of this ILSI and you're getting funding from junk food companies like Coca-Cola, you are forbidden to be on the Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee. Why is that so hard? It's one reason I have long called for the Dietary Guidelines for Americans to not be a part of the USDA, United States Department of Agriculture. Gee, I wonder what they're going to argue on behalf of. And Health and Human Services. Government has no business being involved in nutritional health. We need independent third-party groups that could be pulled together. You know, let's pull some plant-based advocates. Let's pull some high-fat ketogenic advocates. Let's pull people from here, from there. Put them all in a room and say, okay, let's come up with sensible actions that people can take. And if we don't come to a consensus, then we offer the options that are available and give people good quality science-based recommendations. Not this wishy-washy industry-driven food company Coca-Cola directed advice. Isn't that prudent? Like, doesn't that make sense that we do that? Duh. But they haven't. And then ban anyone with ties to ILSI and other industry groups from participating on dietary guidelines. It has to happen. That must happen. It also urges governments to discontinue their partnerships and involvement with ILSI, including allowing current government employees to affiliate with the group in any way. If you're a part of the U.S. government, and you're directing health policy and other things related to public health, and you're getting funding from this ILSI, which is funded by Coca-Cola, yeah, you need to break those ties right now. Don't wait, right now. And to ban ex-civil servants or public officials from engaging in any kind of lobbying activities. Both the ILSI and Coca-Cola were approached for this, for comment, but they did not respond in time for the publication. Of course not, because they don't want you to know. Guys, does this make you mad? Like, When I put that up there, what role is Coca-Cola playing in the 2020 Dietary Guidelines for Americans? I'm sure the first thought you had when you read that, when you came on this Jimmy Rants here today was, what do you mean, what role does Coca-Cola play in it? And I hope you see by now, Coca-Cola and other junk food companies are playing a very, very intricate role in the development of the very guidelines that show us what it's like to eat healthy. And it explains a whole lot now, doesn't it? It explains why the low-fat diet is being pushed so hard. In fact, I did a previous Jimmy Rants where they're not only keeping low fat, they're pushing the fat limit down even further. Because what happens when you cut the fat in the diet? Almost invariably, by default, people increase their carbohydrate consumption. And then the junk food companies come in and say, oh yeah, come on in. We got all the carbs you need. And we'll call them healthy whole grains on the packaging. So you'll be stupid enough to buy them and put them in your cart thinking you're eating healthy when you're doing exactly the opposite of healthy. Oh, this makes me so mad. But they get away with it, guys, because we don't say anything. Jimmy Moore's going to say something, and so I hope you enjoyed that here today. We're going to see what you guys have to say. We're going to start here on Instagram Live first, then I'll come over to Facebook Live, and then YouTube Live when we have time. All right, welcome in. JimmyRants.com is the website if you want to see all the past episodes. Blazer Mama says those guidelines are trash. Well, now you know why they're trash. They're trash because they're not really predicated on the real science. If we had real objective scientists who looked at all of the evidence completely objectively without any interest from the junk food companies, I think the guidelines would be far, far different than what they are. Finally able to watch the lives again, says Linda. Well, welcome back, Linda. Blazer Mom says these guidelines are keeping people sick and making them diabetic. And again, after hearing this today, Blazer Mom, I think you know why. And Blazer Mom also said, don't forget about Big Pharma being an outside influence as well. Big Food and Big Pharma, junk food companies and pharmaceutical companies, they do not want the low-carb message out there. They hate it that I'm out there, and I promise you, they are watching people like me and others in this alternative health space. I remember when I first started blogging, this was 2005. I just started blogging with the Livin' La Vida Low Carb blog. And I remember I used to look at the statistics of people early on that were visiting the site. I could see where they were watching all over the world and around the country in the United States. And one kept popping up every single day, especially when I said things about sugar. It was the Sugar Association. And it was right there in their little, where they came from, is the Sugar Association. And they would look and they would like read for hours upon hours a day, monitoring my site for what I was saying about sugar. And occasionally I would write something about sugar directly and would point out the Sugar Association, and then they would have their minions come and flood my comment section with all these comments. Oh, sugar is healthy. Sugar can be part of a balanced diet, and sugar. And I'm like, okay, yeah. Don't think I don't see what's going on there. They're running spitless, as they say. Karen says Coca-Cola here in Cambodia has new cans to support social distancing, like that makes up for the damage they're doing. Exactly. That's crazy. Mark says first dietary guidelines in 1980. Exactly. That's exactly what happened. Mark says it's amazing how many people are brainwashed into believing man-made garbage is healthier than food that comes from nature. They do believe that, though, Mark. They believe it because we've lost touch with real food. It's why I tell people often, if you want to restore your health, the first thing you need to do is get back in touch with real food and start cooking again. If you start cooking your own food, then processed food no longer tastes good to you. No, processed food is not this alluring thing that draws you in. When you cook your own food and you eat real whole foods, then there's no way processed food is more appealing. Real foods will win every single time. And then cooking them yourself, and like I have 20 backyard chickens, having real food growing through gardens and greenhouses and stuff, that changes your perspective all about it. Blazer Mama says, yes, it's amazing. I feel extremely lucky that my doctors are in support of my keto and whole food lifestyle, but data supports it. My labs are perfect. Yes, I don't doubt that. No surprise that Big Food controls the Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee. Yeah, sadly, I wish it wasn't true, but it is. It's where we are. Our food is our medicine and the key to better health. It always will be. Karen says the best thing the government could do for the health of Americans would be to just stop publishing these guidelines. I agree. I still think it would be helpful to the American people if we had some group put together some guidelines based on actual science, not influenced by these junk food companies. But you're right. It doesn't need to be with the government anymore. Let's make it independent, and then let's come to some kind of consensus. Like, I don't know about you, and we did this today. My podcast that I do on Thursdays is called Real Talk with Jimmy Moore and Dr. Will Cole. So Dr. Cole is a functional medicine practitioner. And so I came up with this idea for a show today. Go to llvlc.com or wherever you listen to podcasts to listen to today's episode of Real Talk. And what it was we have all these factions of Atkins and paleo and primal and fasting and keto and Whole30 and carnivore, all of these different factions all doing their own little thing. And I want to know, what's the commonality between all of them, and even the plant-based people? What is the commonality? What can we rally around with each of these things to coalesce? And that's what we need a real dietary guidelines committee to do, apart from the government, is come up with what are those principles that we all agree is generally healthy. Because quite frankly, most people are still just eating a bunch of crap. And in nobody's world is that a healthy option. So with all of us focused on health that have a healthier nutritional approach, what are those things that we all agree are generally healthy principles? So go listen to that today. Real Talk with Jimmy Moore and Dr. Will Cole, llvlc.com. Ketovore for life. I am angry, but sadly not surprised. Yeah, it's not surprising, unfortunately, but it should make you angry. It should make you realize that things are not always as they seem. And of course, it's almost like when you're a child, you don't know a lot of the things going on in the world, and then you become an adult and you go, whoa, I didn't know that was going on. And it's almost the same way that before you come to a realization about nutritional health and what's going on out there, you're just kind of like a child, kind of oblivious to a lot of things. And then you get your eyes open and you go, whoa! I'm hoping more people have that whoa moment than not. Heather says, and then you'll need all the medications to fix the problems from those foods. See, Heather, you've got it nailed. This is how these things stay cycled. Tell people, oh, you need comfort during COVID-19. Okay, eat all the junk food. You take care of the junk food companies. Oh, you ate that junk food and you got diabetes? Here's a medication to help with that. You help the big pharma. When you put all the pieces together, it totally makes sense now, unfortunately. I'm a nurse. I'm a type 2 diabetic as well, so I've learned that what I was taught in nursing school about nutrition was completely wrong. As a type 2 diabetic, keto has been my lifesaver, and it has for a lot of people. It really has. Just eat real food. That really covers it all. You know, sometimes simplicity is the best policy. And in that case, I love the phrase, just eat real food. That was actually a big mantra right about a decade ago. My buddy Sean Croxton came up with that. And he called it JERF, J-E-R-F. But just eat real food. It does solve a lot of the issues that we're talking about here. All right, thank you, Instagram Live. We're going to pop over here now to my Facebook page. What's going on, you guys? Thanks for being here today on Jimmy Rants. See what you got to say. Susan says, great message today. Thank you. Sharing this rant to my group. Hope folks listen to it. You're spot on, says Paula. Thank you. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. Exactly. Always follow the money. Emily says, I used to drink Mountain Dew like it was going out of style. Yeah, Coca-Cola for me, Mountain Dew. I remember in the Pete Evans documentary that came out, The Magic Pill is what that one was called over on Netflix. he put a story in there about this teenager who all he drank was Mountain Dew, and he drank tons upon tons upon tons of it, to the point that it just disintegrated his teeth. He didn't have any teeth anymore. And then he realized, oh, all that Mountain Dew did that to me, so he gave it up and he got healthier. So then they paid for his teeth to get fixed, and so he's got prosthetic teeth now, and he could smile again. But it was just, whoa, like when you saw what happened to his teeth from drinking Mountain Dew, whoa, kind of wakes you up a little bit. Kira says, I'm concerned that these big, dirty food companies buying up clean brands that I trust, what if eventually they change the ingredients and start adding garbage to them? I heard that Heinz now owns Primal Kitchen. Actually, Kraft owns Primal Kitchen. It was a $200 million deal that took place about a year and a half ago, I believe is when that took place. And now availability of Primal Kitchen products are all over. Their mayo is incredible. I've shown on camera before, like their garlic aioli. They got a lot of dressings and ketchup and all kinds of different products. Steak sauce. So I said the same thing at the time, Kira, that I was concerned that when you sell your company to one of these big boys, that they'll change formulation. Apparently, Mark Sisson, who owns Primal Kitchen, made a deal with them that said, don't touch the formulation. We'll still run everything and run the operation. You just give us the cash flow and we'll keep pumping out products. So in that case, it definitely has not been a detrimental thing. I know there was another one. Kellogg's bought the Epic bars, those meat bars. So this was like 6-7 years ago. It was when I was still in the paleo world, because it made a big stink in the paleo community. Oh my God, I can't believe you sold out to Kellogg's. Now they have the meat bar Epic. See, these companies, they're not stupid. They see the trends. Yes, they still make their junk food, and they still try to make policies that push the junk food because it's a cheaper commodity that they make more profit from. But they also recognize the appetite of the American consumer that wants healthier products. And so they're buying up these healthier companies, not to change their formulation or anything, but to have another revenue source. Because when people finally do wake up fully to the effects of junk food, they want to have something ready to go. It's why Coca-Cola shifted a lot of their business model away from sugary drinks and more to diet drinks, and they bought up a lot of the bottled water and flavored water type of companies because of that. So no, look at what they're doing as diversifying their portfolio. I get the skeptical cynicism part of you there, Kira, because I'm right there with you. But just know they see the handwriting on the wall, and they want to go ahead and have a foothold in all these companies that are producing good products. So the Epic bars, by the way, you can now find them in like 7-Eleven stores and convenience stores, grocery stores. They're everywhere now because Kellogg's had the distribution channels, and the formula has stayed exactly the same. They have not changed the formula. But you're right to have a skeptical eye about this, because these junk food companies have never shown a propensity for caring about your health. Emily says, I work for a hospital system and they push grains and carbs. I've been told on several occasions that keto would cause a heart attack and cause people to die. Well, that's just ignorance, as you well know. Even wellness apps like MyFitnessPal and Heads Up Health push the increase your consumption of fruit, vegetables, and whole grains. I've never been sicker for the last couple of decades. I lost 114 pounds. When I said no to all of that advice, I'm doing my thing and feeling like a rebel now. Well, you are a rebel, Kira. Paula says, N = 1 is the best way to go. Yeah, I wish they would just let people have principles of, hey, you want to get healthier, try this. If that doesn't work, here's another option. If that doesn't work, here's another option. Give people options when it comes to dietary guidelines. We have gotten into trouble having one singular set of guidelines for every single person in the entire world to eat. And that takes away the bio-individuality of all of it. Some people can tolerate more carbs than others. Some people can tolerate more fat than others. Let's not pretend like that everybody needs the exact same diet. Let's see here. My cholesterol's never been better. 3 years keto, says Chastity. Well, and that's the thing too. They keep wanting to focus on cholesterol as some important thing in your health, and it really isn't. Like, if they want to focus on something on the cholesterol panel, look at triglycerides. Look at the triglyceride to HDL ratio. Get people to dig deeper and look at the actual quality of their LDL particles through an NMR lipoprofile. Those are the things that are going to make a difference, not telling people keep your cholesterol low. How do you feel? I hope all is well. Holly, I feel great. Thank you. I'm a nurse also. I did not learn anything about real food nutrition in nursing school, and I went from 2013 to 2015. Yeah, nursing school, I'm sure, is just like medical school. You're not trained in nutrition. And again, that is a shock to the average person. They think, oh, doctors know everything about everything with your diet and health. They're always giving diet advice. Do you think people would pay attention to the diet advice their doctor and nurses are giving them if they knew that the doctors and nurses only got maybe a week's worth of diet training? I don't think they would. And even the dietitians who got diet training, even they didn't get all diet training. This is the flaw too. People think, oh, a dietitian knows all things about nutrition. No, dietitians know propagandized education about nutrition. They do not know what ketogenesis is about. They have no clue. All they know is ketosis is a very unhealthy state, and you better raise your carbs as soon as possible to, push those ketones out of your body before they kill you. Coca-Cola owns Topo Chico now. Yeah, Holly, that's exactly right. So Topo Chico is one of those bubbly water type things. And yeah, they're buying up these companies. And again, trying to diversify their portfolio because they do see the handwriting on the wall. All right, let's come over here. Thank you, Facebook. Come over here to YouTube Live. See what you guys have to say about all this. Hello, hello. Thank you, Grace and Kim Call and Mark. Thank you guys for being here today. Shirley says, this sounds good. Thank you. I hope it was good. I learned a lot listening to you, so I'm not surprised, says Kim Call. Yeah, we've been bamboozled, guys. And it's unfortunate that people take things at face value. And I hope if you learn nothing else from Jimmy Rants, I hope you learn to start not just being skeptical, but skeptical with a brain and skeptical with an eye to, okay, what's really going on here and what's the full truth about what we're being told? Because those are the things that are going to help you as we move forward in the discussion of public health. All right, let's see if there's any other comments here on my Instagram page. I still have to read your labels or buy things that don't have ingredients lists. Yeah, that is a good way to go, Ketovore. Thank you for that. Eat your fruits and vegetables is a big ag marketing campaign. Nothing more, nothing less. Not really based on science, just profits. Yeah, just eat your fruits and vegetables. There is no dietary need for carbohydrates. There's not. There's essential fatty acids, so the fats that you consume, you have to eat fats or you will die because your body can't make them. There is no essential carbohydrates, though. There's essential amino acids, which is proteins, but there's no essential carbohydrates. As much as they want to say fruits and vegetables, fruits and vegetables, fruits and vegetables, as if it's something you have to have, there's no evidence that you have to have it. Now, yes, you get micronutrients from them. You get other good sources of fiber and things like that to feed the gut microbiome, blah, 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 blah. But let's not pretend like they're necessary. And just because they're necessary in the eyes of these companies and these people that say this, doesn't mean that's all you eat. If you listen to a plant-based person, they think, oh, all you need to eat is fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds and things like that. And excluding meat. No evidence. 7 years keto next month and I'm not dead yet, says Mark. Exactly. I keep saying that, people say I'm very unhealthy, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, when am I supposed to have health issues and when am I supposed to die? Because last time I checked, there's still a pulse in there. It is what it is. When it finally sank in that when it finally sank in that it wasn't my fault that I couldn't lose weight doing all the things they told me to do, I cried. Yeah, I think once you realize how much you've been lied to and how much of things like dietary guidelines are impacted by companies like Coca-Cola, it really does make you realize, oh my gosh, what have I believed in my life that was never true all along? That's it for this episode of Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website. As always, if you want to engage live in the content, go follow me over on Instagram. I am at Livin' Low Carb Man, LIVINLOWCARBMAN. Once you are there, engage live. We're here Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern. Sometimes we'll throw 5 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday, and sometimes over the weekend. But just check it out. We go live usually once a day, about 8 times a week. I try to do Jimmy Rants episodes. We also simulcast over on my Facebook page as well as on YouTube Live. Thank you guys for being here today. If you missed the live, you can watch it on replay for up to 24 hours over on Instagram. After that, it does disappear. Pop on over to JimmyRants.com. That's where we put all the past episodes. And then, of course, over on YouTube, type in a keyword Jimmy Rants. You will find the show, or youtube.com/LivinLowCarbMan. When you're there, subscribe. And you can never miss an episode. If you happen to miss the live, you'll never miss an episode if you subscribe to my YouTube video. So go check that out. So guys, that's it for now. We'll be back again with more Jimmy Rants real soon. Bye. All right.